What up guys, your boy Jackie Dripmode, and today I'm going to be working on a dial. And today's dial is going to be focusing on a figure that I feel like it's underrated. So let me show you the figure first. Boom! Here is King Kong. And the one thing that makes this figure so special is that this was inspired by the 1933 film, the original film. Because I mean, I've seen a lot of King Kong movies from the 90s and today, and they look more like gorilla, you know, like just their body, their form. Now this one was, the original movie was made out of clay. I'm actually liking the build, and the paint job is amazing. So, but yeah, I want to build a dial for this guy, and I haven't seen anybody build anything for this guy yet, nor do I hear any hype about this guy yet. So I don't know, I just feel like this guy's underrated, and I want to do something cool with this guy. Now, the first idea that popped in my head when I think of King Kong is the Empire State Building, where he's actually up there dodging, you know, and fighting all the planes that are surrounding him. So I was thinking about it, I was like, Empire State Building, that sounds like a great idea. But to add to it, I'm gonna get some planes as well. I ended up finding some vintage micro machines, and these are airplanes. So I'm gonna be using these guys on the dial as well when I'm gonna build him on top of the Empire State Building fighting the airplanes. So that's what today's dial is gonna be about, and I think this is gonna be really cool. So let's get to it. Alrighty guys, so here I am playing with Tinkercad, and I recommend it for those builds that are real complex. So here I have already created the Empire State Building, and then I got this little character here that represents King Kong. King Kong is actually smaller compared to the Empire State Building, but what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to exaggerate a bit. I'm going to make him a little bit bigger, and I'm going off of this reference right here. I actually like this. Like, he is huge here. King Kong is not supposed to be this huge, because in the movies King Kong goes on top of the needle here, and he's as big as the needle on top. So I think that's a little bit too small. I like this right here. This version really exaggerates, but it really shows off King Kong. So this is what I'm gonna be going off by. I'm actually thinking about just building the top part only. You know, I was thinking about building the whole thing, and it would be really cool to build the whole thing, but I don't think it's needed. Yeah, so right here, probably cut it right here. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm leaning towards, and hopefully it turns out good.
Backpack sold separately.
Alright guys, so this is where I'm at right now, and pretty big. I can't even get it all in the frame, but this is the Empire State Building. So not bad at all. And then anatomically, not bad either. So yeah. So next I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just start gluing things together and start carving the details on the actual building before I get into painting. Alright guys, so here you can see I'm actually adding the details of the window on the wall by hand and using foam. I was debating on using balsa wood, but I thought it would be a lot of balsa wood. So instead I cut a lot of foam very thin and then adding it one by one. It's just gonna be very tedious. Made some decisions as I was creating it. At first I started drawing the lines and it was good enough, but I like to step up to another level when it comes to detail. And the one thing that really bothered me is that my lines weren't consistent. So instead I started cutting out the pieces and laying out the strips to define the windows. One thing I want to kind of expose is that this is all magnetic, so I can take this apart. So I take off the top part, and then I can actually take off all 4 parts, all 4 angles or corners, whatever you want to call it. So put it together. Okay, and then in the middle I have a piece that helps me align the tower where I align this part of the stick onto it. So press it, and on the actual tower I have this piece where it falls in and it aligns perfectly fine, and also it's meant for reinforcement, because the one thing that we have to keep in mind is that the gorilla, sorry, King Kong, is going to be on top, and for it not to fall over you need to kind of play with the architect so that the bottom is heavy but also the actual tower is strong. So you test it out and boom. So yeah, it works. Now the next step is let's prime it. So Mod Podge, guys, black Mod Podge is the next step. Mod Podge and black, and I mix it together, and it's been my go-to prime ever since I figured this out. Alright, so now as you can see, it's all matted and primed. And next up is I'm going to be using this smoke beige to paint the building. If you watched my Ghostbuster video, it's going to be the same technique. You know, just add a base color, then add a highlight as a dry brush, and then go over it with a black wash, real faint black wash, and keep repeating it to get that stone-like effect on the building. So, but then this area here is gonna be silver, so I'm gonna have to mask from here up. So. Alrighty, so time for some black wash. So I got some acrylic, diluted in a lot of water, added more water than paint, and then all we gotta do is start washing. Alrighty guys, so it's painted. There's a bit of dry brushing, bit of black washing, and then now I am going back into more dry brushing. And this time what I'm doing is I'm getting like a darker brown, right? And I'm gonna just start adding hints of it, and hopefully this gives it that look of just like, you know, it's a building that's been there for a while. It's still beautiful. It's, you know. Now the tip, I spray painted it with some silver. Doesn't look that bad at all. Did a you know, a black wash. Now I sealed it, and then now I'm gonna go back into it with a bit of dry brushing again. I'm gonna be using a brown, and I'm gonna be kind of like following like what rain does. So, you know, it's gonna be weathered from a top down stroke. So and I'm using a dark brown. And again, you don't want to make it so concentrated. You just kind of want to just stroke it down. Obviously the top is the concentrated part, but overall it should still look silver. Alright guys, so now the next step is I'm gonna add some accessories to the scene, and one of them is vintage airplanes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some wire, cut it, and then have it connected to the tower and have it look like the plane is actually flying. Another thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be using cotton to kind of like hide the wire, so it looks like almost like a trail of smoke. Got a wire, gonna cut it. Okay, then just bend it enough, make a hook so I could actually just put it around the tower. And then depending on how I want to make the scene, then I could actually bend. Okay, so bend it like that. Okay, so it looks like he's like. So now, let's get some cotton. That looks really cool. Hell yeah. Here you go guys, here's my King Kong Empire State Building diorama. And man, this one was fun because it was definitely stepping outside the box. You know, usually we're building dioramas where we put the figure inside of a scene. In this case, you know, I'm adding the Empire State Building almost like a prop that actually tells a story here of the famous scene of King Kong where he's on top of the Empire State Building battling the planes. Now in this one there's a bit of an exaggeration because King Kong is really not that big. After I started doing my research, like, he's really this big. He's this big on top of the needle, and I just really thought that for me to sell this more in a sense of like kind of selling the idea, I thought I could maybe just have him a lot more bigger, and then you can have them just kind of battling the planes. Also, to add to this build, you know, lighting is very important. You know, lighting really adds to the scene. It gives it that drama. And then adding the accessories of the airplanes really brings this whole scene with some three-dimensional type of aspect where so much is going on. You know, you see here, he's grabbing a plane, he's holding onto the building. You got one plane flying over here, you got another plane flying over there. There's so much going on, so much going on. And I really think it's pretty cool. I would definitely want to say that it's really cool that NECA is focusing on a figure that really no one knows about. And like, you know, this is not the King Kong that I grew up on. The King Kong that I grew up on was in the 90s. This is the one from the 30s or the 40s. So he, you know, he brought it to this point where it's a little bit more modernized, and there's so much beautiful detail. And I just thought this was such a great figure, and I haven't seen anyone do anything with it. So took the opportunity, and man, I'm really happy with this build. So, but yeah, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you guys can just kind of get some inspiration on stepping outside the box when it comes to building a dial for your figures. It doesn't really have to be like a room or some type of housing where you keep the figures inside. It's actually, you could do the opposite too. You know, you could turn the dial into even a prop. So, but yeah, I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit that like button, write a comment, and if you haven't, hit subscribe. Guys, I'll see you guys later. Peace.